I was recently sent a few tools to try by a German company called FRTLZR, and as you may guess by their name, they make products to improve frets, in other words for guitar and bass. Now in this video, I'm going to unbox the tools, talk about them, demonstrate them, and be sure to stick around to the end for a summary and my personal opinion. Alright, so let's open these up now. I can't guarantee this is the same packaging you would get if you were to order these. Again, these were sent to me as a courtesy with the intent to review, so you may or may not get the same packaging. This one has a seal for whatever reason. This one does not. I don't know. Let's just start with this one and see what is in the box. Okay. All right, so it looks like here we have, and I'm going to double check because I'm looking at the web page. This would be the Fret Shaper Spot Leveling Kit, or at least a portion of that. So we'll take a closer look at that in a second. We have we have this block, which is, I believe, for polishing the ends of your frets. And I don't know specifically what this is called, just the fret end block, apparently. So those there. And then, of course, we have a pretty good amount of sandpaper. So it appears that they're all 400. But you have a pretty good amount there, which is nice. So now let's put these aside and we will open the next box. Okay, next box here, we have to cut this seal. What we'll do here, open this up. All right, so we already have some finer, very fine sandpaper in here, 800 grit. I'm gonna put that there, put this here. We have this, and we have the fret guard. Okay, so this is a sort of self-contained kit, and what they call this is the fret polishing kit. It is a cool, ergonomical block. First time I've, laid eyes on it in the flesh, put my hands on it, but the idea is, and again, we'll get a better close-up of this, but let's look at this sandpaper real quick. So, a wide variety of sandpapers for you to step up to the polishing level you desire. So from coarse to more fine, so you can get ultimate polishing. Put that aside. So we have all these things, and we're going to take a closer look. Yes, all this fun stuff to try. So let's try to, put this on the guitar, put this on a fret or two, and see what we got going. Okay, I've done some more reading up on the site, got a bit more organized, and here we have our three systems. On the left is the Fret Shaper. Now it comes with 10 sheets of 400 grit sandpaper. In the middle, we have our fret end block. It comes with 400, 800, 1500, 3000, and 7000 grit sandpapers. And then on the far right, of course, we have our fret polishing kit. And this is the premium version. It comes with micro mesh grits in 1500, 2400, 4000, and 8000. If you get the standard version of this fret polishing kit, it comes with the same papers that we just described for the fret end block. And now, like I said, let's put these into action. All right, as you can see, I've got in front of me here a guitar. What I thought we could do is locate a high fret and then use the Fret Shaper to spot level that fret. And then from there, use the fret polishing kit to polish it up. So I've gone ahead and found a high fret, but I thought I would demonstrate how to do that. I've got here a fret rocker. Now, FRTLZR did not send me their version of the fret rocker. They didn't have it in stock, unfortunately. I'm going to put some photos up here. It's a pretty cool tool. It's got some indicators or tick marks for measuring the string height and pickup height of your guitar. And it also has a table which gives you the sort of expected ranges of string height for different guitars, electric, acoustic, and bass. And another nice feature is it has measurements in both millimeters and inches. But like I said, unfortunately, I was unable to obtain a fret rocker from FRTLZR, or what they call their fret banger, but I do have a different style here and it'll do the job. But I must say that you have to have a fret rocker in order to find a high fret, in order to use the Fret Shaper and file that fret down. So what we're going to do, like I said before, I've gone ahead and found the high fret. I'll just demonstrate here that kind of go around and find the ones that are okay. So, and this is how you use a fret rocker. If you don't know, you just basically span 3 frets and you're trying to find the one in the middle. If it's high, you're going to hear a clicking sound because it's rocking back and forth on that high fret. and you use the length that is appropriate to span the frets you need. So just going to put this down here. I'm moving it back and forth. I don't hear any clicking. So those are good. I'm going to, yep, go here. We're good. But right here, we're not. Okay. Especially in the middle there. So this is actually the 18th fret, and so what we're going to do is take the strings off, and that's another good point is a good time to do this, to use some of these tools, will be during a string change. Whenever, if you have a high fret, you've noticed that you're getting some buzzing or whatever, or your fret's looking a little unpolished. While you're doing a string change, you can grab some of these tools and go to town, do what you need to do, and then it'll be ready to restring, and you'll have nice polished and smooth frets. So I'm going to go ahead and take the strings off, and then we'll get to working on this fret. So before we go and spot level our fret, there's another step we have to take care of, and that is cutting down this 400 grit sandpaper to size. Now what I'm going to do is take a scrap piece of cardboard here that I have. You could take a piece of wood, a cutting board, what have you, and I'm actually going to get sort of a dimension of this, and this is the edge that I need to use, and I'm just going to show you here, and it doesn't have to be an exact specific measurement. You just kind of have to ballpark. So I'm using the 32nds of an inch side of the ruler here, and it looks like it's about 12/32 of an inch. Now you could just put the sandpaper down and kind of eyeball it, but honestly this little groove is kind of hard to see if you don't have a fair amount of light. So like I said, what I'm going to do is, just knowing the distance that I measured, I'm going to take said ruler and make a couple of marks on here with a pen or Sharpie, and then I'll take a razor blade and cut that to size. And I'll go ahead and zoom in here to show you in better detail what I'm doing. So again, I'm just kind of eyeballing this, marking roughly the dimension that I need here. I might take another stab at it about right here. Again, it doesn't have to be exact, but in general, that is about the width that I need. So now I'm going to take a good old razor blade here. It's not the sharpest one that I have, but I can kind of cut it to the right width. All right, so it seems to be pretty good there. Give it one more swipe. Maybe a little bit more on this edge, this side. Okay, so now there I have my sandpaper cut to length. So let's zoom back out and we'll get going. Get the guitar back up here and get to working on spot leveling the fret. Got the guitar back up here on the bench, and now we said it was the 18th fret, which is this one. Just going to double check. And now I am going to mark this with a Sharpie just so I remember which one I'm working on. Doesn't have to be anything pretty, but I don't want to get the wrong one. It wouldn't really work on the wrong one, but just want to make sure that that is actually the high fret. All right, let's give it a whirl. This is my first time using this, so you're seeing it real time. It's going to take this strip here and wrap it around the groove part of this side of the fret leveler, spot leveler, like so. And just going to go ahead and go back and forth on this fret. Okay, so I think we're making some progress here. I think this is sort of almost too small to span. I mean, not too small, but there's a little bit of room for slippage here. So I think I'm going to turn to this side. Now, the nice thing about having these strips of paper is you can just keep moving up or down the strip and use, one of these kind of just, it'll last you a really long time. So I'm going to try this now on this side, see if that gives me, yeah, I think that gives me a better sense of not slipping on the other two frets. Okay, I think that's pretty good there. So now I'm going to take my fret rocker, grab that again, and see what we have going. All right, still got some rocking going on. Not a lot, just a little bit there in the middle. So I'm going to keep going at this till it's level. All right, let's see where we're at. I think pretty good. Got a little bit more rocking there, still in the center. So, you know, really you should be able to hear when this paper stops scratching, and that's kind of the indication that it's gotten to where it needs to be. So I'm gonna keep going at this. Yeah, just keep working at it to get it level. All right, I think that feels like it's not doing much work anymore. So yeah, I think that is good. So now that we've done that, I'm going to grab the polishing system and polish this fret out. And hopefully we'll see a big difference in the fret that's polished versus the ones adjacent to it that are not so polished. So we're going to use this polishing system. Again, this is the first time I've used this, so you're going to see it in real time. First thing to do is to put the fret guard down, or the fretboard guard down. There's typically a softer edge and a rougher edge with these, just the way it's machined. You can kind of feel which one's a little bit smoother and will protect the fretboard better. So I can feel that this is smoother, and I'm going to put this down right here. Now you could, if this were over here, you could use a rubber band or something to go around the neck and hold in place. But I've seen the tutorial videos where they just kind of hold it with one hand and go with the other. So that's what I'm going to do. The first micro mesh sheet to use is the 1500 grit. And so I'm going to take the block, wrap the paper around it, or the micro mesh pad like so. You could overlap it, whatever's easiest. Then I'm going to take the rubber band and go around the block, put the band in the groove there on either side. So I'm going to pull this as tight as I can. It is bunching up a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. The idea is just so that it's covering this groove and that you can place it down on the fret and polish away. So grabbing again my fretboard protector here and spanning the fret, I'm just going to go and polish away. All right, so you can kind of see there in the groove where it's grabbing that material, and you can kind of feel it when it gives way a little bit. It's not as scratchy, it's not grabbing or being adhesive anymore. So that's when you kind of know that you're done with that particular grit. So I think I'm kind of at that point now with the 1500. So now I'm going to move up to the next micro mesh pad. Next we have the 2400. Again, same idea. Put it across our block, put the rubber band in place, hold it, and polish away. Alright, I think we're good on that grit. I'm going to move up to the next one. 4000 is next. Sorry, my guitar is obviously wobbling a bit on my desk here, so that's the noise you're hearing. Hopefully you can hear the paper gripping as well over the noise. Alright, so I think we're done with that one. And now on to the final 8000. Man, that feels really smooth. Okay, so taking this off, I can already tell it's shining a lot more than the adjacent frets. I'm going to zoom in here a bit so you can see a little bit better and actually take this off the stand here. Hold on a second. All right, so hopefully you can see this is the fret right here, and it's a lot shinier than the adjacent frets. Got a lot more of a light kind of bouncing off of it, much more of a glassy look. And zooming in here, kind of the same thing. Again, there is the fret that's been polished. Has a nice smoothness, a nice shine to it. So what I think I'm going to do is go ahead and do the rest of these frets. Well, I went ahead and did the entire fretboard, and I got to tell you, never in my life, any guitar I've ever had, have I had frets this shiny. I'm actually pretty excited about it. Never really given much thought or emphasis on having shiny frets. but obviously they're going to be super smooth when playing. So I'm looking forward to getting strings on this guitar and giving it a whirl. Really pleased with the shine and the smoothness and the ease of polishing these frets. Now that we've used our fret shaper to spot level and our fret polishing kit to polish the frets, it is now time to try the fret end block with appropriate sandpaper to smooth out the fret ends on the edges of the fretboard. Now typically you do not want to do something like this to a maple fretboard because the maple fretboard is going to have a clear coat of some kind over it. Whether it be polyurethane, nitrocellulose, true oil, shellac, whatever it is, it's probably going to be finished. And when you take a block like this with sandpaper along the edges, you are most definitely going to be scraping and making scratches in that finish along the edge of the fretboard. Now, a great time to actually do this to a maple fretboard would be, for example, if you are putting a guitar together, building a guitar, and you need to finish a raw neck. So this is before you put, your final sealing coats on and everything, probably before you put your tint coats on if you're going to do something like that. So essentially, if you have a raw neck before those coats go on, if you want to, smooth out the edges of the fretboard, then at that point, that would be a great time to do that. However, like I said, you really run the risk of scratching your fretboard, or at least the edges, up pretty bad if you do this to a maple fretboard. That being said, I'm going to switch out guitars now to a rosewood fretboard and show you how to use this fret end block. Okay, I've now got my Jazzmaster up on the bench, and as you can hopefully see, it has a rosewood or darker fretboard. Typically when you see, if you don't know this already, if you see a lighter colored wood, it is typically maple on a fretboard. If you see darker wood, it's typically rosewood. It could be palfaro or it could be ebony, but generally it is rosewood. And rosewood is, when it's used as a fingerboard or fretboard, it is unfinished. So there's no coating on it whatsoever. There's no clear coat, no sealer. It's just raw wood. And that gives us the opportunity to use a fret end block for sanding and polishing the end of the frets. But I do want to point out really quickly, I'm going to tilt the guitar up, and as you can hopefully see here, I think if you look down here, all right, let's see. Down here, anyway, you can see on the edge that this has a coating or a clear coat on it as well. So now if I go and take this sandpaper all along the edges of this fretboard, it is going to scratch that up. So what I'm going to do is put a piece of painter's tape all along the edge of the fretboard to help ensure that I don't do that. I will get some scratches probably on top of the fretboard, but like I said, rosewood is unfinished, it's not treated or anything, so any kind of scratches that I put into the wood will essentially buff right back out and will be the same color, and you shouldn't be able to really tell the difference. But I do want to, again, protect the edge of the fretboard because it does have this finish on there, and that's probably typical of any guitar that you're going to do this to. This is a Squire neck, but this would be typical of a Fender guitar with a rosewood fretboard. So that's what we're going to do. And then I will get into using this fret end block to smooth out the ends of the frets. Okay, as you can hopefully see, I've taken the strings off the guitar. I've also put some tape along the edges of the body to protect it from stray sanding marks. And I've also gone to the effort. I'm going to pick the guitar up here. It might be a little noisy, but I have, like I said, gone to the effort of putting painter's tape, masking tape along the edge of the fretboard to protect that finished edge from getting all scratched up. So I've done that on both sides, even though you can't really see it over here. That is the case. And now what I'm going to do is take the fret end block, and I'm going to take the first grit of sandpaper. Now they give you the first grit as 400. In the video on their website, they actually start with 800. This guitar doesn't have super sharp fret end edges, but they are a little rough, and so just for the sake of this, for going through all the sandpaper grits, I'm going to start with 400. I'm going to put it around the block like so. So I'm going to wrap it like this. Not really rocket science here. Now, in the FRTLZR video, they go sort of this way with the block, like this. But to me, you get a lot more bang for your buck if you go this way. You're spanning a lot more of the frets, and so that's what I'm going to choose to do. I know you can't see the entire neck, but I'm going to go along and sort of smooth strokes as much as I can and sort of capture all the frets as I can in, you know, a smooth effort. Now with this 400 grit, it is fairly abrasive, so I'm not going to go really hard or very long with the 400. I think I'll just go really quickly, and then I'll move to the 800 and on up the grits to get as smooth as fret ends as possible. So here we go. So what I'm observing here is I'm kind of catching the edges of the paper as they flop over the ends. So maybe that's why they went this direction. So I'm going to try to do that and switch up my method here to see if that works a little bit better. So let's try this. Okay, I think that works a little bit better. Have more control doing that than going this way. So my initial thoughts of this direction weren't actually good, so who knew? FRTLZR had it right to begin with. So now let's try the same thing on this end. I don't have the best angle for this. I'm just trying to capture it as best I can on the camera. So I'm not really doing this in the most ergonomical fashion. You could even take the neck off the guitar if you wanted to, if you have a bolt-on neck, but I'm leaving it on, like I said, just protecting the body. So let's continue on. Okay, I think that's good for my 400 grit. I'm now going to move on to the 800 grit. So here we go, 800. Going to wrap the block as we did before, like so. And then same kind of general motion along the edge of the fretboard. And now the other side. Starting to feel a little better. All right, so that was 800. Now let's move on up to the next grit. So next we have 1500. Next we have 30,000. Going to 7,000. The state that I'm in now is I went through with the fret and block with all my grits, and I did the edges, of course, and then I went back with the fret polishing kit and I polished all the frets using all of those grits as well. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I do want to say that I would recommend, if you're going to do both the total fret polishing and the end fret polishing, I would do the ends first, because I got some sort of stray marks on top of the frets as if I lean this over too much. And so after those were there, I went back through with the fret polishing kit and sort of took those out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the tape off and see where we're at with that. I also need to kind of clean up the fretboard, just the kind of gunk that's on there. And then I'll put probably some fretboard conditioner on here to kind of bring back the darkness on the edges. And then I want to put on some strings. Yeah, so let's do that. Let's go ahead and take the tape off. All right, I'm going to tilt the guitar up now and hopefully we can get a decent view of this. Yeah, so it looks like pretty good shape. I didn't scratch up this clear coated part of the edge of the fretboard. And so that looks fine, no damage to the top of the guitar either. So now, like I said, I'm going to do some cleanup and some conditioning and see where we're at. So I've got a rag here. Yes, it is an old sock. Yes, it is clean. Just going to do some initial cleaning off to get some of the dust off of the fretboard. Okay, let's get some fretboard conditioner and bring this back to life. This is what I typically use. It's F1 oil by Music Nomad. I like the results, been pretty pleased with it. I actually did a video on a lot of different fretboard conditioners, kind of the ingredients, the results, comparing them. You might want to check that out. If you do, click up here in the upper part of the video and it'll take you to that video. Just gonna put a dab or so along here, and then we'll wipe it in. That might be a little much, but we can always wipe away the excess. Just gonna kind of wipe off the excess here. It looks like we're in pretty good shape here. There are no real visible marks on the edges of the fretboard. I think the light is kind of playing some tricks. If I kind of cover up the light there, yeah, there's not really any sanding marks. So I think we're good there. The fretboard conditioner has kind of reestablished the overall darkness and color of the fretboard. I wanted to show this quickly, or at least try to. I've got a lot more light on the guitar now, and what I wanted to point out is that the ends of the frets are nice and shiny, polished as well. So just as the fret polishing kit works on the tops of the frets, so does the end block work on the edges, and it looks really great. I do believe I've got a little bit of a haze going on tops of the frets, just with the fretboard conditioner that's on there. But overall, they look really nice and polished and mirror finished. So what do I think about these products? Overall, I'm very pleased. As to the results, you can probably hear the smoothness. Just glides right over the frets. I like the fact that you don't have to be an expert or a luthier to use the products. You can basically just watch a couple of tutorial videos and get started. I like the ergonomic nature of the tool, the fret polishing tool, and the fact that it's innovative. You don't have to use messy liquid compounds. It's also very lightweight. If you happen to drop it on your guitar, it's not going to do any damage. And it basically lasts forever. If you do happen to run out of sandpaper, you can just order some more. It's very affordable, economical. They have free shipping to Europe, and it's only a few more dollars to ship to the US. So check out their website, FRTLZR, FRTLZR.com, for all their products. Thanks for watching.